Hey there YouTube, That's here, bringing you guys another set of games featuring my Mega Charizard X team. In yesterday's games, we looked at the potential Charizard Terrakion Dragon Dance Psych-Up lead, super aggressive if your opponent goes for a very defensive turn 1. You get the Dragon Dance with Charizard, gets the Psych-Up on the Terrakion, and it leads to a very steamrolled game where you snowball a victory and you win in a few turns, and it's super flashy, super stylish, and it's a lot of fun to play. In today's games, we're going to look at the potential Scrafty Venusaur lead. It's a lead that plays into a very aggressive turn 2 and turn 3 with a fake out eject button Scrafty and a full wall Heat Rock Sunny Day Chlorophyll Venusaur. That's right, you heard everything correctly. There is a Heat Rock on this Venusaur. It's packing Sunny Day. Venusaur is the sunsetter for this team. I know it looks like this is a Charizard Y team, but since we already talked about this being Charizard X, Venusaur is the setter, and it's a super fun way to play, and it catches a ton of people off guard. So we're going to be getting things started right now. I'm going to be starting it off, leading off with Scrafty. One of the best Intimidate users, I would say. It's one of the best, has a ton of good coverage, packs the fake out, and when you put an eject button on it, it can lead to some really wacky plays, leading off against Greninja and a Venusaur of my opponents. So when you see a Venusaur without a Sunsetter, you know that it's probably a Mega Venusaur, and since it's Mega Venusaur, I don't really want to pop Sunny Day first, because I don't want to give him a turn of free Chlorophyll. So we're going to go for a very defensive turn 1, we're going to go for the fake out on the Venusaur, and instead of popping Sunny Day, because speed's activated really weirdly, we don't want to give him a free turn of Chlorophyll, so we're going to go for a Sleep Powder on the Greninja slot this turn. I thought he was probably going to go for like a Leech Seed Mat Block, that's what I thought was coming. So we're starting off turn 2, now we can activate Sunny Day. We see he misses a Gunk Shot, kind of unfortunate, and we see he hits a Sludge Bomb with Venusaur, picks up the poison, and pops my eject button, which forces Scrafty out, and it lets me come in with the main sweeper of the team, Charizard here. And then this is where it gets real. So Charizard switches in, I pop a Sunny Day, and by now the cat's probably out of the bag. I'm going to go into Charizard X, and remember, my opponent's Mega Venusaur has thick fat, so it is super bulky. It's going to take reduced damage from fire type attacks, but Charizard's not really going to care. First, we're going to eat a Rock Slide from this Greninja coming in, and I'm pretty happy they got Intimidated off of my Scrafty, else that Rock Slide would have done a lot more to my Charizard. But we're going to finish off his Venusaur with a super stabbed Flare Blitz in the sun. The fact that there is a sun, like the fact that there's a drought on the board, and I'm using Charizard X, makes this team so much funner to play, and it's just really wacky, and I think it's the coolest thing ever. We see Landorus come in, he's going to pull a double switch out, going into Aegislash this turn, probably expecting my Charizard to switch out as well. I decided just to go with a pretty standard Protect here, and I miss a Sleep Powder. Remember, Venusaur is Chlorophyll, so it is super fast. Missing Sleep Powder kind of sucks, but I'll make up for the fact that he missed Gunk Shot earlier in the game. So starting off turn 5, we are going to see Greninja switch out here, coming back in for Landorus, and this is where my opponent makes a really good play. He's going to get a second Intimidate on my Charizard. The same turn, well, we're going to see Giga Drain come out first, gaining back a ton of HP on my Venusaur, which is pretty good for me. The same turn I went for Flare Blitz on Aegislash, though I'm pretty sure I would have got the knockout if the Intimidate didn't happen, but we are going to activate his Weakness Policy, sharply raising a special attack, and he almost one-shots my Venusaur. So I have 2 Pokemon in the red, there's an Aegislash in the red. If there was ever a turn to like Wide Guard Earthquake, this is pretty much it. So I decided to switch in with Scrafty. I can definitely save Charizard for later in the game. He can take out the Aegislash if I have to. He decides to go for the Rock Slide instead, and actually gets a double miss. Double miss Rock Slide. This is the most unfortunate thing I've ever seen in my life. Lets me get a Sleep Powder off on that Venusaur. And we know that the Landorus is Scarfed because my Venusaur is slower than it, because it's like a full wall set, it's maybe faster than most things. We saw how bulky it was eating most of these moves, as well as the super effective, or sorry, the +2 attack from the Aegislash. So now it's time for Typhlosion to come in. I'm pretty sure that is an Adamant Landorus, so we see Typhlosion come in, Aegislash goes for the predictable King Shield, and we're just going to see Typhlosion come in and go for the big Flamethrower. Remember, the sun is still happening. My opponent's like, the sun hasn't worn off yet, what's going on here? That's right, they've got the Heat Rock giving me sustained sun for the remainder of the game. This is like these last 3 turns, because the Heat Rock increases the amount of drought from 5 turns to 8. This is where you get the free wins on people with this team, because the Scrafty Venusaur leads for a bit of a longer game than the Terrakion Charizard lead. So we see he sends his Greninja out here. Typhlosion is too fast, but we already know that I'm Scarfed, so I'm locked into Flamethrower. I'm pretty happy I'm locked into Flamethrower over Eruption here, and I didn't want to go for Heat Wave that one turn because I had to KO the Landorus. I didn't want to get wide guarded, so I felt Flamethrower was the best option there. And from here, there's no way my opponent's really going to win. So instead of losing my Scrafty to Poison, I decide just switch it out, come in with Charizard. We know my opponent is probably just going to Protect because he hasn't really left the game yet. And we already know that Typhlosion is much faster than this Greninja is because of my Choice Scarf. And so it's finally turn 9, and the sun is finally going to set, but it's much too late. The sun did everything it needed to. I got the Super Sun Stabbed Flare Blitz off on the Mega Venusaur. I got a few turns of Sun Boosted Flamethrowers with my Typhlosion, and just a really cool way to win the game. Takes a different twist on a Sunny Day team. Normally you would see like Mega Charizard Y and Venusaur Chlorophyll and go for really aggressive, like, you know, Giga Drain Sleep Powder, like just really strong Venusaurs and really strong Charizard Ys. This team sets up for a bit of a different thing with a Wall Venusaur that's more of a support Pokemon with Sunny Day and Sleep Powder and, you know, Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb to check the things that Charizard X can't check, you know, like Gastrodon and Gardevoir. So I feel this team has a lot of strengths. It's not the most competitive team, but it is super fun to play. So that was game 1. We're going to go into game 2. We're going to be leading off against NCI, who has Ambipom, Gardevoir, Scizor, Conkeldurr, Politoed, and Greninja. So we are going to be leading off with Scrafty Venusaur again. This team is, well, I'll let the battle speak for itself. We're going off with Scrafty Venusaur, and we're going to see, I think he leads Ambipom, and I don't remember the other Pokemon. We're going to see Ambipom, and since we see Ambipom, we know that we're pretty much going to be trading Fake Outs this turn. We see Ambipom and Conkeldurr. And since I see the Conkeldurr here, I'm pretty sure I can go for a really aggressive turn 2. We're going to go trade Fake Outs. He's going to Fake Out my Venusaur, I'm going to Fake Out his Conkeldurr, and we see the Vive Orb on the Ambipom, which I'm really happy to see, which means that there's probably a Focus Sash on a Pokemon like Greninja, so just come back for that later in the game. We're going to trade Flinches off. Remember, my Venusaur does not have Protect, there's no room on this set, which is why I decided to eat the Fake Out, and my opponent went for a U-turn, and one fact about the eject button is your opponent cannot U-turn if the opposing Pokemon switches out with an eject button. So instead of him switching, I get to switch into Charizard to eat the predictable Drain Punch, not doing that much on my flying type. So I have the Sunny Day up, I have a Charizard that switched in for free, I go for Charizard X, and this is where the game gets really cool. I go for the Sludge Bomb on the Ambipom. I thought that there would be a switch in from Gardevoir there. He finally gets his U-turn off, but like everything cool already happened. He switches out his Ambipom, right? And he's going to go in for his Scizor here. I was really actually thinking of Flare Blitz in that slot, but I'm fine going for the Flare Blitz in the sun on the Conkeldurr. We see I take a ton of recoil, but just one-shotting a Conkeldurr, like how often does that really happen? We now see Politoed come in, going to start the Weather Wars here, getting rid of my Sun, but I'm completely fine with that. Charizard's going to go for the Protect. My opponent has almost no KO power on my Venusaur. Remember, I'm still boosted by the Chlorophyll because Sun's like activated at the beginning of the turn. We're going to see Venusaur go first and pop a Sunny Day right back in his face. So I take a little bit of HP from an Aerial Ace, but it's not the biggest of deal because I am super bulky on my Venusaur set. We're going to force out that Politoed, coming in with Ambipom here, and this is where I could have made a better play, but I just decided to nuke the Politoed slot, figuring he would probably stay in. So I decided to go for Giga Drain on that slot. I also Dragon Clawed that slot. If I would have went for the Flare Blitz there, this would have been a definite highlight reel game, and it would have been a really cool way to finish it off. We're finally going to lose Venusaur. Aerial Ace critical hit is going to be enough to take me out, but you know, Venusaur definitely did everything I needed to. It got 2 Sunny Days off, it got like a couple KOs, and it definitely won me this game. So Scrafty's going to come in, layer up, and Intimidate off onto that Scizor. Now Politoed can't switch out anymore, but the rain is here to stay. So we're going to Fake Out, and we're going to nuke the Politoed slot this turn, because Scizor has almost no KO power on my board here, as we're going to see this turn because I intimidated it. Politoed is going to flinch, Scizor is going to go for another one of those Aerial Aces. It's only barely doing 30% to my Scrafty, and from here, I can pretty much win the game. We're going to see Politoed activate his leftovers, but it is not enough to save him. Flare Blitz, even though it's in the rain, I got the crit. I know I didn't need it because I'm so strong with my Mega Charizard X. And I think Charizard actually goes down this turn. Yeah, he goes down to the Scald, but there is still a Scrafty on the board, and Scrafty, while not being the strongest of Pokemon, definitely has enough attack to take out a 28% Politoed with a knockoff, knocking off those leftovers. So what does this game really have to say about the team? Well, Scrafty with eject button and then Venusaur with Sunny Day leads to a secondary type of Sunny Day team that normally most people wouldn't see. I know it looks like I'm just running Charizard Y Venusaur, and that's what most people expect, but when you lead like Scrafty, they're like, okay, that's a little bit weird. Maybe he's going to switch in a Charizard. And then I force them to make me switch in at the end of a turn after taking a small attack because they're so weak for my Intimidate, get off a Sunny Day, and then one-shot anything I want with Charizard. It's one of my favorite things to do. I've thought about making this team for a while, and I'm just really glad that these type of combos work because while they might not be the most competitive, it shows really cool, unique ways to use Pokemon that most people haven't really thought of or haven't really given the appropriate time to try and work into their style. So I really appreciate you guys watching these games. I had a lot of fun playing them and casting them, and I hope to see you guys next time. Peace out.